In today's episode, we are looking at Cripple's 1936 Crusader four-wheel drive build. Could this be Australia's most original four-wheel drive?
Alright, well, this is the Crusader. Well, it's a 1936 Graham-Paige. I never heard of them before until I ended up buying this one. There's another one outside as well. We'll go for a walk out there and show you that.
Now, if you're like me, you're probably thinking, what the heck is Graham-Paige? So before we go any further, here's a quick history lesson. There were three brothers, Joseph, Robert and Ray. They were born in the 1880s in Indiana in the United States of America, baby. They were well off due to their father opening the first electric power company in Washington. But this did not take away from the brothers' work ethic. After building a successful glassworks company, they decided to sell up and start a new venture, turning cars into trucks. The product would be called a truck attachment. And this was essentially extended and beefed up chassis rails, a larger diff and running gear, and you would weld or bolt the rear half of a Graham truck attachment onto the front half of your automobile. Now eventually, the Grahams started building their own trucks, and when Dodge purchased the Graham Brothers truck firm in 1925, the brothers took executive positions at Dodge. The Grahams trucks were so popular, they were being used for ambulances and fire trucks, and took the spot for the second most sold truck in the 1920s. Now, we turn the page, no pun intended, to 1927. With a banking group controlling Dodge, the brothers decided to enter the automobile business on their own by purchasing the Page Detroit Motor Company for $3.5 million, or 61 million US dollars in today's currency, roughly 100 million Australian dollars. In 1932, the original Page commercial line of cars ceased production, and the brothers dropped the Page name, badging the cars as Graham. And with this, we were introduced to the Graham Blue Streak sedan, coupled with a straight 8 that made a whopping 90 American horsepower, and a chassis design called the banjo frame, which meant the axle tubes ran through the chassis rails and the leaf springs were mounted outboard from the rails, allowing for better handling. The design introduced a number of groundbreaking ideas. The most copied was the enclosed fenders, and one of the other ideas was a little something called a supercharger. You know, one of those things that makes these sounds. So in 1934, they fitted an optional crank-driven supercharger to the 4.3 litre straight 8, and then to the 6 in 1936 when they discontinued the 8. But unfortunately, Australia never got a supercharged version. Now, stay with me class, I know you're bored, but the lesson is nearly over. And now we're at a point where the two Graham Crusader Model 80s in today's video come from. Well, half the car comes from. See, back then the Australian government had high tariffs on imported motor vehicles to protect the local motor building industry. So Graham would ship a rolling chassis complete with a full drivetrain to Australia, and the body from the cow back would be built by the Holden division at Woodville in South Australia. The Australian versions included suicide doors and a two-piece sloping windshield with twin electric windscreen wiper motors. The non-supercharged engine made 60 horsepower, and with an aluminium cylinder head and improved water jackets, they made 70 horsepower. Out of the three similar but different models that Holden produced over the 3 years, only 1,018 cars were built. So, at the end of 1937, Australia had finished up making Graham Crusaders. Back in the United States, they were heading towards the end of the Great Depression. With Graham having no money to make new bodies, the company entered an arrangement with Hupmobile to build cars based on the body dies of the Cord 810 and 812. Now, Hupmobile had acquired the dies but lacked the financials to build them. So, Graham agreed to build the Hupmobile Skylark on a contract basis, while they got to use the dies to make a similar car called the Hollywood. Unfortunately, manufacturing delays meant the car ended up being a flop. Both Graham and Hupmobile suspended manufacturing in September 1940, only to reopen to help the war effort. Now, after World War II, Graham-Paige sold its remaining automotive interests to Kaiser Frazer and became a closed investment corporation. It later operated Madison Square Garden and owned several professional New York athletic teams. All these endeavours proved far more profitable than car making had ever been.
Glass is dismissed.
But yeah, man, they're like a proper strange car, like factory suicide. They were a straight sixth, supercharged in 1936. So I don't know. There were two sedans. I want a ute. I can't really afford a ute, so I'm cutting and shutting some cars to make myself a ute. So yeah, sedan up until here, and then this is the back window and stuff. This was off a HQ or something. It was like a roof off a wagon. Bits and pieces. So these body lines, we'll go for a walk around the side and it'll give you a much better idea of what's going on here. So yeah, we're down at Nick's place anyway. Yeah, so I need a ute, and it was sort of, where do you start? Where do you finish? Like, what's the aim? I'm like, I want something I want to keep forever. So, man, the front grille on this thing, that's insane. It's like Art Deco. Like, you couldn't get crazier than that if you tried. So pretty much the idea of this one, we'll get all the front end off this thing, running boards, the rear guards, like picture like a flat tray sort of thing. This is where the other one stopped, and we've made the back into a ute. So we took the back window sort of up through this section across here and stuff, and more upright and bent it over and whatnot. And then take, you know, the bits of body line that we want off this to sort of cut and shut it all together. But being a timber frame, like, it's not the best, but if you want something from the 30s, it pretty much is what it is, hey? And this is a pile of bits come off it. Like, you can see the timber frame in that. Like, it's gangster, man. Like, there's literally shiny bare metal. Shiny bare metal from 1936. That's from on top of the timber. Like, crazy talk. I've got the body line here. I need to continue it and fade it in. So we've cut this off the back of like the sedan from way back here somewhere. Sort of got it into shape. I had it screwed in position. So I just sort of run the 1mm along it, just to sit it in there. I probably should be using new screws. So I've run the 1mm along it, and now you just sort of make it flush and tack it where it touches. Bam! Turn it up nice and hot so it does a nice penetration. Finally got the ute on the road, down here at Nick's place. It's been a long haul, but we got there in the end. No, not really. the Hilux runs over there, so we're going to pull it apart so it doesn't run either. So that's the plan today. We'll yeah, sort of mop this thing up. We've got the cab all cut up and stuff. Might go through some details on that later on. And yeah, sort of sitting together to get the big picture, but yeah, a few things haven't quite lined up in the measurements like I thought it would. It's the age-old story. I definitely need a better hobby than this. But yeah, anyway, try and get into it. Got out early, went for a surf, went to the bakery. Now I actually got to do some hard work. Make the dreams come true, you know. Anyway, this was the donor car, but change of plan a little bit, sort of here and there. I don't know what I'm doing. It was going to be a little 4-cylinder Hilux, chug along ute, but the size of everything doesn't really work in scale, so I don't think the donk's going to be big enough, but the running gear should do the trick. So today's plan, we'll sort of rip this thing apart, hopefully sit the sheet metal on top of it, see what's going to work. Hopes and dreams.
Okay, I've just taken off the cab off this Hilux. It marked me on my knee right here, but I've taped it up. So the next plan is to take out the engine, gearbox, fuel tank, and then we'll have a look at where we're going to cut it and hopefully lengthen it, and we'll go from there. Alright, we've got the cab on, the chassis, some of the parts here. Nick's playing with the grill or something. So the next plan is to put the front end on and see how it lines up and where the engine's going to sit and the steering is going to be. Just work out some of the finer details. So we'll get to that.
But first, introducing a new segment, Cripples Tech Talks.
Alright, thought I'd give everyone a quick run through of the cutting and shutting of making a truck cab. So yeah, we started with the sedan back window and stuff, sort of trimmed it above the boot. The boot should be shooting out here somewhere, you know, and it comes on an angle, so we stepped it all up, screwed it all into place, tacked it into place, and then cut and welded it. So you can see all the welds. I've actually rusted up different than the rest of the metal. So it's TIG welded in. You sort of weld a bit with the TIG and stop and hammer and dolly and let it cool and come back and weld it again. And so it's quite a long process, but it's kind of the best way I find to make everything join up. You gotta hammer and dolly it where you can. There's some bits that you can't really get to with the hammer and dolly, like around here, because there's sort of a frame, but you just do it slow and steady and keep it cool. So it really stands out now that it's rusted up where all the joins are. So like this body here was around the back quarter window, way back here somewhere. So I sort of brought it all up, tried to make it all flow in. Not sure what to do with this body line, if I need to bring it out or not, but that's a minor detail and the problems we're facing at the moment. I shouldn't say problems, should I? Should say challenges, excitement. But yeah, that's sort of long story short on turning a sedan into a ute. It makes it even funny sometimes. It's legit like, All right. Well, yeah, I think it's pretty much a wrap for the day. We got the cab sitting on the Hilux chassis. Sort of didn't look that bad, and then we're playing around with the front end. And yeah, there's a few major differences between this and the old 1936 model, which was to be expected, but I can't be bothered getting the grinder out and making decisions today. So this is where we're at. Sort of center of the wheel arch, cab sitting there, but it all needs to go down. Hopefully we'll make it clear the steering box and stuff. Like it, knew it was going to be a while to hurt, but it's going to fight us to the end. And yeah, the wheel to the back of the cab, like it's a little chode. We need to make a little bit girthier than this. So yeah, I don't know. Till next time.